at a time when I had lost my muchness. And I was in a very great place, and I read that line on Facebook, and it just resonated with me so, so strongly. This idea that all of those things that I felt in my head I had lost over the course of years, my confidence, my excitement, you know, parts of my personality that I really enjoyed when I was younger and had the confidence to explore when I was younger, over the course of the years, had sort of just fallen away. But there's no real word for that, you know, and you think, oh, I used to have the confidence to wear that or to see that or think I could achieve that. And then that line, that word, I used to be much mushier, but then I lost my muchness. Just was like fireworks in my head. And I decided that day that I was going to find my muchness. And I thought, well, what helps me tap into that feeling? And for me, it was sequins. And I thought that day, oh, you know, I didn't have a lot of sequins. I sort of started collecting these things. I said, I wonder if I have enough sequins in my closet to wear them every day for 30 days. I wonder. And I started that day, I happened to be wearing a little navy blue shirt with sequin cap sleeves, and I took a picture and I posted it on Facebook. And then the next day I wore something with sequins, and the next day, and the next day. And by day 5, I realized something was going on, like something was shifting in me. I was getting excited about the idea of finding sequins and what was going to be my muchness. And I realized it was more than just what I was wearing. It was tapping into something inside of me. And the people who were seeing these pictures on my Facebook started commenting and liking and being like, oh, this is interesting. I need to find my muchness. How do I find my muchness? And over the course of 30 days, this thing just grew. And at the end of 30 days, I launched my website, Finding My Muchness, because I knew there was something there. And women started emailing me, I want to take my 30-day muchness challenge. And for not everybody it's sequence. For some of them it's cooking or reading or journaling or whatever it is that helps them tap into their unique spirit and their confidence and their joy, their hobbies, whatever it is that maybe they've sort of dropped along the way. So what does this have to do with you? So wedding planning, as you said, obviously a really stressful time. You know, it can really get the best of you. And stress is basically like a tremendous muchness killer. So I'm here, I want to help you find ways to remember to tap into your muchness through the wedding planning process. Because when you stay connected to your muchness, as you do this, you're going to end up bringing that to your wedding. You're going to, like her with her zebras and her pirates, like all of those things are her muchness. And when you stay connected to those moments that light you up on the inside, then that's what your guests are going to feel when they show up at your wedding. And they're going to get to know you, and they're going to feel like part of your unique story. So the first way to stay connected to your muchness is just by knowing that word, by knowing the concept, by knowing that everybody has muchness. There's muchness in you, and you're allowed to go seek it out. And if it's unique and quirky and weird, even better. Like, pull those things out of you. But how do you find those things? Because sometimes, you know, they're all messed up with everything else. So one of the things that I do is I talk about your muchness moments. Muchness moments are the moments, you know, you're going through your day, right? It's like, oh, here's my day. And then something kind of good happens, like kind of like, oh, yeah, that was cool. And it's like this little blip, right, on your day, and then your day continues. When something bad happens, right, you're going on your day, something bad, somebody annoyed you, whatever, like your whole mood drops, right? So when you start paying attention to your muchness moments, when that little blip happens, and you tune in and you say, ah, there's that moment, and you capture it, like pay attention to it, celebrate it, it's important. And then you say, oh, that moment I felt happy. Ooh, that moment I felt empowered. Ooh, that moment I felt strong. And these moments keep building up when you start paying attention to them, so that when stress happens, instead of dropping you down here, you kind of end up here, because you're already here, you know, because you've built up this platform where you're really connected to those things that give you a jolt on the inside. So I didn't even know about this bridal rebellion thing. I was like, okay, so at first I was going to give you like, oh, you should keep a journal of your muchness moments. But I'm like, you have too much to think about. You're not keeping a journal. I was like, for me, the best way that I can keep track of my muchness moments is I pull out my phone and I take a picture. And I share them. I share them on my Facebook. That's how I started, or on Twitter or wherever. And then people get excited. They see them. They're like, oh, you know, like those commercials where one person does one thing and then a person sees it, so they do something, and it starts this chain reaction. When you start sharing your little muchness moments, it kind of starts a chain reaction, and the people around you are like, oh, I want muchness. Oh, it inspired me to find my muchness. And it really helps you tap into those things. So I created the little hashtag, wedding muchness. You could do that with your bridal rebellion. And then when you go back, you know, you're spending a year or whatever planning 6 hours, right? And the whole year is filled with the stress and the notebooks and the organizers and the appointments and the meetings and all of that stuff. When it's all said and done, you're going to have those amazing 6 hours. And then afterwards, you can go on your phone and tap in your hashtag wedding muchness in the search bar and see all of those other moments, those little moments that lifted you up. Those moments when you were fighting with your florist for a month, but then he finally showed you the arrangement, and you're like, oh my God, it's perfect. And you took that muchness moment and you captured it because it's yours, you know? And I forgot where I was going. But I'm so excited for you guys because it is such an exciting time. I love planning my wedding. I took all the stuff that I was, you know, going to use in my wedding, and I put it in the corner, built up this whole big thing, and I brought everything. And I had brought so many personal touches to my wedding, and I think even though that was before I knew about the muchness, it was because I was inclined to tune into those muchness moments. I have a story that I was debating whether to tell you or not, but I'm going to tell you. So my daughter, my oldest daughter, Molly, she's 5. She turned 5 this week, actually. She's a little spitfire girl. And she decided that she was going to be born 3.5 weeks early. And I'm a procrastinator. So I had not done anything. I hadn't read a book. I hadn't read an article. I was like, oh, you know, baby's coming, baby, you know, she'll be here, and that'll be fine in 3.5 weeks. And then 3.5 weeks early, I found myself at the hospital 1 o'clock in the morning in like full-blown labor. And I know this is a weird story for me to be telling you, but bear with me. And the intake nurse, she's like, let me ask you some questions. Do you have a birth plan? And I was like, I didn't even know that those things exist. And she's like, well, do you plan to have an epidural? And I was like, no, I don't know yet. I haven't decided. Do you plan to nurse? I hadn't decided. Do you have a pediatrician? I said no. And she was getting annoyed. She goes, let me ask you a question. And I was like, yeah. She goes, did you have a big wedding? And I was like 170 people, I know. She's like, well, I think you showed up for that prepared. And I'm like full, like in labor, the whole deal, like in movies. And I looked at her, I said, well, that didn't happen 3.5 weeks before the date printed on the invitation. And that's my point. This is going to be stressful, but this is the fun part. It's easy. You know when it's going to happen, you know. Life is going to take you for some trips around the block, you know. So have fun with this. Collect your muchness moments here. I'm going to hold up my sign. Ooh, sorry. You can hashtag those wedding muchness, and, you know, even look at each other's and share your muchness moments, and that'll be great. I want to suggest right now, like, pull out your phones. I have mine down here. Take a picture. Take a picture of this beautiful venue, of all the vendors, of all the cakes, and hashtag it, wedding muchness. And when you look it up, you'll be like, this is the beginning of your journey to planning a wedding filled with your unique muchness. And that's it. Thank you so much.